Alright, this time on Captain Chaos's laboratory, we're going to be working on the Christmas Candy Works. There it is. It's from 2016, and there's a piece broken inside. I don't know if you can hear it. I can see it. It's one of the pieces from the window display has come unglued. But, well, it's here because it doesn't work. So it does light up. Sound works. But you can see it's trying when I make things move. Nothing's turning, nothing's working. So, thinking it's a bad motor, broken belt, any number of things. Broken gear. Hopefully nothing more than that. But it's a plastic and resin house. Plastic, resin, plastic. Looks like the window pops out. I don't see any reason why to take it out. It's got little clips on the top and on the bottom, and this clip and this clip are glued. These three are not, and the one behind these two characters are not. Looking at the house before I started recording it, since it's a new house for me to disassemble, it looks like this seam that separates the top half from the bottom half is how you would take this thing apart. Because looking at this seam as it goes all the way around, it's separated right here. There's a gap, and I can see two fingers. So I'm assuming there's a third finger in this area. So I'm going to assume the separate, and then I can see a finger right here because there's also a warp in the plastic. And then this is a big plastic plate, and if I tip the plastic plate, I can see all the finger holes. Let me see if I can show it to you. So if you look, you'll see finger hole, finger hole, finger hole, and you can see them all the way around the sides. There's 2 on each side and 3 in the back. And that's for the fingers to pop into place. So I'm assuming that this top half comes off. I could be wrong. I've never worked on it before. But in doing so, I'm not sure how it's going to interfere with the shaft that does this, and the shaft that does this, and the shaft that does this. And this is connected to the bottom. The speaker is right about here on the lower plate. The motor is right here, just inside behind this back wall. This appears to come off as well because I see the finger holes, and I don't see that's going to provide any access because it looks like the top is solid. Just double check. So there's a finger and a finger. Apparently I'm going to need 2 spudgers. There we go. And then there's a little bit of glue right there, which has broke free. The only other glue might be against this piece here. We're going to find out in just a moment. So that side's popped. There we go. And no, it's a solid white roof underneath. So popping this off isn't going to do any good. And there is a little bit of glue right here and a little bit here, but it's solid with just the fingers. So if you have this piece, you don't have to take it off. Now let's see about these clips. Now these clips could remove the whole top, or they could just remove each wall independently, so the sides and the front. I think this is supposed to be a gingerbread house based on the patterns. I'm getting some movement. Sounds like there might be a little bit of glue in here as well. Yeah, there's a little bit of glue in here. I got a dab of glue in this corner, and then there's a little bit of glue right there, and there's a little bit of glue right here, and there's glue in this corner. There's not much glue on the face, just a itty bitty amount there, an itty bitty amount here. So I'm wondering if this side will pop off, because the motor is behind, well, it's in this corner, and I think that's where our problem in lies. So I'm wondering if I can take off this panel. I'm not sure how it separates from the roof, so let me just poke around in there a little bit. So there's nothing holding it. As you can see, I have the spudger in, and I can slide it all the way down with no resistance. So there's nothing in the roof area. Well, what does it take to pop the roof off? That might be the easiest. I do have glue right here, and all along the front, and there's a clip behind each one of these lights. Let's check the back. This is usually the hardest part, or the longest part, is figuring out how to take these things apart. So this whole back is lifting right up, so I don't know what's holding it until I get to here. Alright. I want to double check one thing under here. Is when I was looking, I saw no access hole. It doesn't mean there's no screws. So I should have checked that. I see is an LED that illuminates this green dome, or at least it looks like an LED. Just pop it off just to make sure. There we go. So it's got 4 fingers. We'll pop it off and set it out of the way. And let's see what we got underneath. And that could be an LED. I didn't look when it was running if it lit up. This sign does have screws in the back of it. There's 3 screws in the back of the sign. I don't know. Take the screws out and see if there's anything hidden under the sign that might hold the roof on. Since in the sign are the 2 rotating suckers. And I can't tell if you're getting the black lines on your screen from the white top. The new camera that we were going to use came in and it did not work. It was really, really dark. Even with all these lights on I have in here, it was super dim. And it couldn't record in high def. So I was recording in lower quality than what this is recording in. So until we find a suitable camera, you might see white lines when we're filming anything that has, or excuse me, black lines anytime we're filming anything that has white. So, for now. Alright, so there's the back of the sign. This thing is getting whiter by the minute. And I can see the gear drives. It uses a ring and pinion gear right there and right there. And there is no access or screws or mounts. There is an LED set right here, which illuminate the wheel in the front, which is weird that they have one off center and then one really far off center. So, but while it's here, these ring and pinion gears look okay. I like their transfer, how they transfer it up into this. It's actually a pretty cool idea. Basically, they're using a plate with 4 grooves and then a plate with 4 fingers that fit together and act like a cam transfer plate instead of making it a solid shaft. So this sucker only goes down to this protrusion and then that's it. So that means if this gear cracks, it's a lot easier to repair. Pop the cap off, pop the 3 screws out, than it is to just disassemble the whole unit and then slide it down the entire shaft length. So, like I said, Lemax does have some interesting design features that are intended to make it easier to assemble, not to take it apart. But if it's easy to assemble, it means it should be somewhat easy to take apart once we get past the immense amount of glue. So can I pop these fingers behind the lights without popping off the lights? Almost. I got that finger. Now I just got to get the glue to break. Spudger after spudger. So apparently the clip, this is a clip hole. This is also clipped into the clip hole. And that guy just rocketed out of here. I don't even know where he went. That was actually pretty impressive. But he landed on my junk pile. So I'm going to have to find it. So let's get this guy off so I don't lose him. So, warning. If you're taking off the roof, if this is the easiest way to access this, watch out for flying gummy bears. Because it was pretty funny. This one appears to be glued on. Because I have the roof separated and he's not trying to lift at all. Or she. Now I'm afraid the candy cane chimney stacks might do the same. Alright, so that clip's now separated. There is no clip under here, but I bet you there's a clip under these in the corner. So there's a lot of clips and a little bit of glue. So you're going to have to take your time and work your way around getting all the clips to separate. A rigid spudger, like what I'm using, is going to probably be your best bet, or maybe a small screwdriver. Where's the other clip? Right there. And that, there's 2 clips. There's one clip right here and one clip under the yellow gummy bear. I bet you this side's the same. This side only has one clip, and it's right there underneath the yellow gummy bear. him out of the way. All right. So I think this clip is still holding it. There we go. Now I think it's just held on with the front two and the little bit of glue they have around the clips. There is actually clips underneath the sign. So this sign is clipped in right here, and those clips are double clips. There's also a set of clips that are right underneath it that go straight all the way down. So let's see if I can push them without taking off the sign. I need to get a little space. And they're right about there. There it is. There's one. And the other one is right about here under the S. Can I get in there? No. Lift, and there we go. Let's see, can I pop it? Popped it. And I think there's one in the middle as well, because the middle's not lifting. So let's take a look. Cannot see the middle because of the shroud. But since the middle's pinched, I'm going to assume there's one in the center, so I'm going to flex the roof and see where the pinch is. The pinch is underneath the W. So if it holds true to the other two, there should be a clip somewhere in here. Somewhere. There isn't. What's holding you? There is. It's right between the Y and the W. And then the metallic sounds was the drive shafts falling, which isn't a big deal. There is a transfer board up top. It has a Molex connector, so we're going to unplug that. So we can tip the roof up. Wow. So, yeah, take the roof off. Don't try and separate the rest of this. You can get to pretty much everything in here. It is going to be hard to fix that broken piece in the bottom, though, without taking the top off. Well, we'll see what we can do. These windows are all sealed, meaning there's fake glass in them. But anyhow, so the transfer board is just for the spotlights on the front. I'm trying to see if I can get the spotlights to pop out. They are just pressed in, and then they have a dab that looks like hot glue on them. And we can just remove the top. excessive, but that's because I just realized I took my other pair of pliers, or nail nose pliers, and I pulled them out of here the other day to use them, and I haven't put them back in. I guess we're not going to be able to really get those out without possibly damaging the face or the lights themselves. So I'm going to bring it up to the camera so you can see it better. And all the black lines are going across the screen. There you go. So this is the connector that does the transfer board for the two LEDs. There's your motor, your main circuit board, your little half-watt 8-ohm speaker. You can see everything screwed in from the top. And then you can also see, hopefully, the clips in the bottom for the back wall and the side wall. You can literally disassemble this into brass tacks, as they call it. Little pieces, kind of like I did to the Toy Factory when it came out, Hideous Harry's. A $170 piece. I bought it, took it home, and just dismantled it to a pile of parts. And a lot of people were like, oh my god. I'm like, yep. This is one of those houses you can do it. I'm actually wondering if this wasn't the precursor to the Hideous Harry mold, meaning that they used this setup, slightly different building, but it's completely modular and disassemblable, minus the glue. That makes it a little tougher. So, I know that it's not spinning, so I'm going to assume we got a bad motor. So what is it going to take to get this motor and motor tray out? I really do wish I could remove this top. Well, I can't remove the top, but it looks like I can remove this shield so I can see down inside the tube to see if there's a screw. And yes, that is an LED right there. Just because I said I didn't know. It looks like it, and it is. So this shield is actually glued in. Not only has it got the 3 fingers, but they put a bead of hard glue around it. Let's see. Feels like there's a screw. There's a screw under this rotating plate of gummy bears. So to get the motor out, I'd have to remove this center, and it feels like there is a screw right down here in the center. There is. So I need a better screwdriver. Let's try this one. Alrighty, so there is that and the screw, and what that does is it exposes that screw for this plate. So now let's take the motor plate out. One. Two. Three. And if this was an 80s commercial, we'd say crunch, and that's how many clicks it took to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. There we go. So they have it in a ball of glue, like normal. This is the motor wire right here. So let's unplug it from the circuitry. And now let's see if we can get it to break free of all this glue. Like so. Voila. So this is most likely our offender. So either it doesn't spin or it's slipping, and it is a SRF 300CA with 11,440 revolutions per second. That belt is chewing itself up. There's a lot of black debris around the shaft. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the motor in now and have this hanging out. And let's see if it spins. It technically shouldn't, but maybe it's just a slipping belt. It'll be easier to see than when it's in there. Plus, it won't have a load on it. And click. Nothing.
Come on to the amazing Christmas
There we go.
handiwork. Where the sugar
Now it's
plum
spinning.
fairy shop.
Oh yeah, the motor's dying.
Ooh, I want that one.
Oh, that motor sounds horrible. It's clunking and it's oh yeah, that's dying. So let's unplug it before it causes any major problems to the unit. Like that. Also want to check all these gears, because that clunking may not just be the motor. That clunking may be the gear. So, and like always, don't lose the little screws. If you do, you can find them on Amazon and eBay, but then you have to wait. So just do your best not to lose little screws. You can't. Oh yeah, it's full of grease. That motor is full of grease. Look at that. Well, you don't know if you can see it, but it's really, really shiny and wet. So, and let's get the pulley off. So, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can see all the black residue. That is the residue from the belt shredding and getting stuck to the grease. So now I'm going to turn this by hand and I'm going to examine, because this does have a notorious 10-tooth gear, which is great for braking. It also has the impossible gear right there, which is also known for braking. And if yours is broken, Happy Holidays with an S, parts with an S.com has them in stock. He manufactures them now. All the gears feel fine. I feel no clunking. No vibration. I think it's just the motor's dying. Yeah, it's beautiful. Alright. That's my last standard shaft motors. Now as I've left are the long shafts. So I guess I gotta order some more, and of course my supplier's out, so that's gonna be fun. We need to wipe off the excess grease. This is your first video. I mention this on any video when there's a Lemax motor involved. Grease on the gears, great. Grease outside the gears, not so great. This grease, one, can conduct electricity, so if it gets on that circuit board, it can cause a short and let the smoke out. Also, it gets inside these little holes in the motor, wherever the other one disappeared to. Right, yar. Which this only has the one hole, because two of the holes are for the screws, or it goes down the center shaft, which is not sealed. It causes the motor to short out. Now, luckily, this one hasn't fully shorted out, but it was enough that it got stuck. Once I spun it and cleaned up the area that was sticking in with the short, it started spinning just fine, except for the clicking and the surging. The motor's going whoa, 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 and they're not supposed to do that. That's why I said, before it causes any more damage, let's get it out of the circuit and replace it. So, most motors come like this, with just two little wires and no connector. Also, the wires are short. So I like to cut it close to the original motor, and then I take those little motors, believe it or not, I stick them in a box, and when the box is full, I take them and recycle them. You don't get much, but it doesn't go in a landfill. And you take your existing connector that is long, and you strip back the wiring. Now you can twist it and heat shrink it, tape it. You can twist it together and hot glue it. I solder them because that makes for a more permanent, stable connection, but I know not everyone out there knows how to solder or knows or has the equipment to solder. So you can just Western Union them. That's the old term. I don't know if they still use it. But, so basically, technically you should slide the heat shrink on prior to stripping the wires. I always do that part backwards. But since I did, we'll twist the wires. And we will slide it. It's always recommended to slide it down the long side, especially if you're going to be soldering, because the heat of the soldering gun will cause the heat shrink, well, to shrink. So, and there we go. So, black to black, red to red. If you reverse it, that means it'll spin backwards. It'll still spin, just all your gummy bears will be doing the moon scoot. That's they're all sitting down. So if you cannot solder it, you twist them together, and if you want, you can put a dab of hot glue on that, tape, or just fold it flat and slide the heat shrink over and heat the heat shrink. The heat shrink just requires a lighter or a heat gun or some heat source. I just use a little cheap Bic. But, like I said, to make it more permanent, I just use solder and solder them together real fast. Like that. And I know I mentioned it a lot, but don't forget the remainder of this year, every month we're giving something away. All you need to do to enter is comment something, doesn't matter what you comment, below the video of the giveaway. It could be an emoji, you could say thank you, or I hate you, or the sky was purple yesterday, doesn't matter. And then you just have to be in the United States, because shipping internationally is insanely expensive. So, and that's it. It's the easiest giveaway ever. Doing it for the next well, right now it's March, going on to April really fast, so technically 8 months. So it's going to be all village related items, at least until the holidays. I mean, even at the holidays we were thinking about doing a double giveaway, but So if you didn't solder it and you heat shrink it, like that, and it'll still hold. So if you're interested in possibly being drawn randomly for some random stuff, then just enter at the appropriate video. You can enter more than once, meaning that if you win something in January and then you keep entering every month, you might win something in October, as an example. Probably helps if I put the motor on the right side. So we just use a random name drawing service. I think it's called Wheel of Names or something like that. So there's a chance you can win more than once. It's not one of those that if you win, you're not eligible for the next umpteen years. None of that crap. There we go. Let's press the pulley back on. And then when you press it on, look at it from the side and then make sure they're the same height. If you push it down too far, like it just happened to me, because that is very, very, very common, just use something to get on the edge of it and slightly twist or lift to where your pulley is in a straight line with the big pulley. It reduces the stress on your belt. So apparently the fitting, the head, doesn't fit through the hole with the motor all the way in. So let's loosen it a little bit. Technically you don't have to put it in this hole. They just do this as a keep the wires more in control. Some of the pieces don't come with that square for the cable. Let's find a belt. Way too big. A lot of you know I get most of my belts from Skull Crane Electronics. I'm not endorsed by them. I just like their belts. Now if they want to endorse me, I ain't got a problem with that. But I buy their belt kits at the same price everybody else does, which is about $13 for a universal kit, which comes with 20 belts or something, 15 belts. Come in these little baggies. I like their belts because they're thicker and they're more elasticy, so they stretch farther. And I don't know, so far I've had no issues with them. That's why I keep using them. I also do link to generic belt kits on Amazon. I use those too if I don't have the right size belt, because Skull Crane is an animatronics place that does mostly the large jemmies. So sometimes the belts that they have they're specific sizes. So sometimes on Lemax or Mr. Christmas or even Department 56 will use this monstrally long belt, which they sell on Amazon. There you go, nice and smooth. It's spinning. I do this a lot because I know it's hard to see in the camera. So there's a red line. And there you go. You don't have to do that. I just do that so you can see that it's actually spinning, because you know you can't see it spinning in the camera. And again, oops. I gotta I am this summer moving to a bigger area. I'm excited because I'm tired of the clutterness in here. So, but anyway, so especially when I start moving the laboratory, videos might be a little bit more sporadic because I figure it'll take about a week to move what's in here. There's a lot of stuff. Then the other room, I have to move all that into here, which is heavy stuff. So, but everyone out there is making the channel more and more popular, which I appreciate. So does the other guy. But everything is done at my house, and I'm running out of room. So. So I'm going to fix that problem. Also, we were talking about once it's in a bigger area, of maybe doing some of these repairs live. So right now we're at 42 minutes approximately. So we would do a live repair and possibly have you ask questions while the repair is being done. And if I see it, or if the other guy is with me, he can read them to me, and we can try and answer them live. Something we're thinking about trying. If we do that, it'll be towards the end of the summer. Alright, so the easiest way to do the drive shafts is drop them in the bottom and then just lower the roof back on. I'm only doing this so we can see if the top actually rotates like it's supposed to. And then if everything's good, we'll do some wire management if necessary, and then reattach it. And I'm going to go hunting for the rocket gummy bear that decided it wanted to try out flight. But unfortunately he succumbed to gravity because he's not a bird, he don't have wings. Alright, so these may not fully engage because I'm not going to clip the roof on right now. Oh, they are. Look at that. Hey, we got motions. Gotta open the bottom, whatever that thing is that, oh, that's where it goes. It broke off, is interfering with that wheel. Jeez. Alright, that sucks. But, I don't know if you noticed that you got sounds. There's that light I was talking about. And, let's unplug the lights again. Come on, unplug. Damn it. There you go. You can see they're rotating beautifully. But you can hear that clunk. It's because that thing is underneath the bottom plate. So, I'm going to figure out how to get to the bottom. Do not disassemble Johnny 5. How in the world are we going to do this? Maybe start with the back. So if I wedge that in there to separate the clip, then I put this in here. Alright. This is one of the reasons we haven't done a live repair, which we've been asked to do in-person repairs for displays or seminars. It's because there's a time limit, and as you can see, sometimes things don't work right, and then you got problems. I'm really curious on how this comes apart. There's got to be glue hidden somewhere that I cannot see. So, got that clip lifted, but there's something holding it right in the middle. I can see it on all four walls. It's a plastic protrusion, but I don't know what the protrusion is. I wonder if it's like a glue pad or that they just have it protruding so they can slather a buttload of glue in there. That's why I'm trying to slide in the spudger. I think that's what they did. Huh. I wonder if I can get the broken piece to come out of this hole. And then glue it on by popping the front window out. Or if I can get out the front window. Remember at the beginning I said the front window is held in with some clips, and only 2 of the clips have glue. So I'm wondering... instead of trying to rip the whole house apart, just see if we can access the front. Okay, so this side is slowly coming out. There we go. There's that one. I'll try and link all these spudders below, because if you try and do this yourself, which I always recommend. I always recommend you attempt it. It's yours. It's already broken. Usually you can't make it much worse unless you drop it. But you definitely need a thin spudger to start the process and then a thicker spudger to continue. So I'm going to try and link these below. These right here, this one is an example that I just got in the mail last week, which will be like 2 weeks from when this video goes up. I just ordered them off of eBay. They're the cheapest generally. I ordered a 5-pack because the thin ones they do work. They're not the strongest, but they allow me to get in there enough to get these thicker, more rigid spudgers in there, and then work my way around. I got 2/3 of the clips out, so I don't know, maybe that's enough to get it to dislodge. Oh. See if we can just get the whole front window out. I don't know why this one doesn't want to come out. It's not glued in, it just does not want to separate. Alright. Here's the other piece. It's stuck under the table. Broken piece of plastic, but that candy thingy that's broke, I think is caught under the table. Well, she's moving smoothly now, but I still want to get that jar out, and I can glue it in through the window that's popped. Goes. I have no idea where it disappeared to. Let's get the remind me my dog has things to say. Alright, give me a moment. I'm gonna go see what she's barking at outside. And, I'm gonna look for that thing. But anyway, and I'm gonna see if I can get that broken thing out of the inside. So instead of wasting your time, I'll be back in just a few moments. Alright, we're back. I still have to find this guy. I've been looking and I can't find where he rocketed off to. It will be found before this goes back to its owner. There you go. So I was able to get the glass out finally. You do have to remove at least this character. That's what happened with me. To get to the last clip that's right in here. The clunking sound wasn't the piece that was caught under, which is right there. It's keeps going around. It's the very small glass, which is, here we go, right there. Anyhow, it I didn't realize this. I didn't see it on the when I had it apart, and maybe you did on the camera. Almost every screw inside the top was loose. So what was happening is this wheel was kicked at an angle and it was smacking the side over here. That was the clunk. Tightened up the screws, tightened up all the screws, made sure all the teeth on the big gears were good, the long bar, and that was it. All the screws came loose. Like, that's the second piece that I've had all the screws come loose. But this is older. I can understand this being about 6 years, 7 years old, that might happen. So the other piece was a new for 2022. So anyhow, so don't worry, unless you want to take the sign back off to access the mechanism for these, you don't have to take that off. I would recommend popping off the 4, this guy, this one, and the one that rocketed off on me, to get to those clips. If you want to take the sign off, this top off, you can get to the clip that's right here under the edge. Might make it easier. Pop it off and kind of bring it towards the front. Then you can access the motor, circuit board, make sure you disconnect the wires that go up here and illuminate these 2 lights and that light, as well as the lights that illuminate this rotating disc here. Once you do that, the rest of it's pretty simple. A couple screws here and there. This thing took a motor and a belt, because the belt was going out, it was shredding, and it was dry rotted. You know, a piece of 7 years old almost, so go figure. And a new motor. I'll have the links below like I normally do. So let's see what it looks like in low light. What sound?
Come on to the amazing Christmas handiwork. We're the Sugar Plum Fairy shop. I want that one. I want that one. I want that one. I want everything.
I also adjusted him while I had the top off when I was doing the gears. If you saw, he was leaning really far over against the platform. I just loosened the screw, rotated him, tightened it up. This is on a pivot assembly where it's a bar that has an eccentric, and when the bar is on the eccentric, that's why he moves and then stops, because that's when the gear is at its apex, and then stops because it's at the other end, the other apex, and that's it. And then it's glued back together to a piece. The glass isn't glued in. I left it where it just clipped, so that way if it ever has to come back out to fix one of these pieces that breaks off again. But you will have to remove at least this character so you can slide it straight out. Other than that, that's it. It's just a lot of plastic clips and glue and lights coming back. And while I was looking for this, I had this thing running for like a half an hour. I've literally removed more than half of the pile here, and I'm going through the bags to make sure it didn't land in the bags. I have no idea where it launched off to, but I'm gonna keep looking for it. The person isn't coming to pick this up for another 3 weeks, so I got some time to find it, but I'm gonna keep looking for it this evening. So other than this missing at the moment, it's completely back together, and I'm gonna go find Rocket Man Gummy Bear and see where they have landed. But other than that, it's a little time consuming to take it apart, mainly because it's plastic and you got to be careful so you don't crack it. It's better than porcelain, again, in my opinion. So work your way around the edges, find the clips, pop the clips. If you stick like a small spudger, like this one that has the spike inside the hole, it'll pop out easier. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is right about there, underneath the green. The ones on the front, unless you completely remove this sign, it's easier just to poke here, and right in the middle. There. And pop them free. Then you have an out external finger behind, just to the side of these lights. Or actually it's right at the lights. You got a finger right there, and a finger right there. And that's it. Once you get the roof off, you can access everything from the top unless something happens to this wheel here. Then you do have to remove the walls and this plastic plate. Hopefully you don't have any issues. The screws that hold this in, because this isn't attached to a axle or anything, it's just hanging with 3 screws. Make sure those 3 screws are good and it's not smacking the sides, because that's what it was doing before. Just make sure everything's tight and not backed out. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's not terribly difficult, just time consuming. I mean, I think we're at over an hour, not counting what I did off camera, which was adjusting all the screws, taking out the spanner plate, making sure all the big gears were good, there's no chunks of plastic in there. I removed the broken chunks of plastic that were in here. Some of it was casting and some of it was the clips from up in the top, which is why these corners are lifted, is because the clips were pre-broke. Age does that. But that plastic wasn't interfering with this. Now that faux cup or faux glass that got caught underneath didn't help it any, but the biggest issue was there's 3 screws in the top and one of them had completely come out, which means that it wasn't sitting straight, it was cocked at an angle and moving in an eccentric pattern. So yeah, which means if it is eccentric, meaning it's wobbling, you can adjust and loosen the screws as necessary to where you get it straight. So if you tighten all 3 screws and it's wobbly, you can loosen one until it straightens back out, so on and so forth. So it's got some adjustments. And then the gingerbread guy here, you can adjust him. There's a screw on the back. You might have seen it when I had it apart. I only did it because I didn't like him leaning so far to the side. I don't think that's what he was supposed to do. But just tighten, loosen the screw a hair, rotate them, hold them, tighten the screw. You would need a snubby screwdriver or an offset screwdriver, the ones that kind of look like a Z or an S that go dunk, dunk, dunk. And to get in there, I just used a little nubby screwdriver while I had it open before I put the top back on. And it was just a personal thing. It was working fine. I just didn't like it going all the way to the side. Again, sometimes it's the aesthetics. So other than that, this is the Lemax Christmas Candy Works, and how to remove everything on the top to access the bottom or the middle where all the mechanism circuitry is. When you put it back together, make sure you plug the lights in. I did wire management. That big loop of wire that was glued in is now looped back and tucked, so it cannot interfere with the moving parts. So that was about it for the internals. Outside, just watch your lights. When you take this apart, watch out for Rockin' Man here. I would pop these off just to be safe. They're just held on with some super glue. I used hot glue to reattach this one, and I'll use hot glue to reattach this one because, just like everything, this will break again. Motors don't last forever, belts don't last forever, gears don't last forever. So at some point, it's most likely going to have to be worked on. Maybe not for another 7 years. Don't know. But I like to reassemble pieces that need to come off to access the internals with hot glue. It's easier to separate than super or Gorilla Glue. So, and then the gears were well lubricated. If they weren't, use this stuff here. It is, I can't read it, it's all smeared, but I'll link it below. Oh, here's a brand new tube. I forgot I bought like 20 of these. Super Lube, synthetic grease with PTFE. So I'll link where you can get them below. But all the gears are well greased. I had that blackish gray brown smudge that was over here, which was the paint from the bottom of this chafing. I wiped it off before I put it back together. It didn't interfere with anything. It's just to clean up the inside. It doesn't affect it in any way, shape, or form. I just figured I had that plate off to check the big teeth, since all the gears were loose, to make sure none of the teeth chipped, and, or excuse me, all the screws were loose. I think I said gears. Anyhow, I just wiped it off since I had it apart. You know, one of those things. But other than that, it's all back together, working, functional, almost ready to go back once I find this gummy bear. The only thing I would have changed on the build of this, if this was mine, is I probably would have made these light up. So I would have probably had these off center of the holes just enough that a little white light would make these glow yellow, red, and green. That's me, because if you notice the top of the building, when I had the light off, like this, you can't see them. So if this is in your Christmas display, if you're staring it straight on, you can't even see this, but they have this lit up for some reason. So, or maybe had some spotlights come off the side here to illuminate the gummy bears. So, like I said, small things. If it was mine and I really cared, I might drill a couple of holes underneath, run some little bitty off-white LEDs, and wire it into the lighting circuit here, or the little board up top. But other than that, I really wouldn't change much. Or I can just hot wire with a resistor to the power from the switch, so it bypasses the factory circuitry, so I don't have to worry about overloading the factory circuitry. It shouldn't. It would be 6 LEDs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But other than that, it's pretty well lit. This side has more light because it's got the walkway and it's got the light right here at the door. This side's not so much, which is understandable. There's nothing to access. This light, if you're taller than it or you're looking at an angle, it's kind of nice to see it's glowing, so you know that the factory's working. But a straight on view, you don't see this at all. Even in the dark, this sign is just so massive, this doesn't illuminate enough to do anything. So again, small things that I notice. That's why I've modified a few of my pieces with the lighting, because sometimes that makes all the difference. But other than that, it's good the way it is. It's functional, and just about ready to go back. So I appreciate you watching. Hopefully this was informative enough that if you have this piece or similar, you can access it and repair it. And I'll link below the belts and the motor, which I know at the moment they're out of stock, so the link will probably just take you to similar items. And then the spudger kits for both this style, the flexi bendy. This and this are the same. It's just this, the plastic glue-on hand protector fell off, and this style, the thick kit. So there you go. Have a good one.